my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. Welcome to the room of people who have rooms of people that they love one day docked away. Just because we check the guns at the door doesn't mean our brains will change from hand grenades. You laughing on the psychopath sitting next to you. You laughing on the murderer sitting next to you. You think I'd get here sitting next to you. But after all I've said, please don't forget. All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. We don't deal with outsiders very well. They say newcomers have a certain smell. Yeah, trust issues not to mention. They say they can smell your intentions. You laughing on the freak show sitting next to you. You laugh some weird people sitting next to you. You think how did I get here sitting next to you. But after all I've said, please don't forget. Take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. Why'd you come? You knew you should have stayed. I tried to warn you just to stay away. And now they're outside ready to buzz. It looks like you might be one of us.
Thank you, Peg. That was amazing. We're going to take a second to thank Nathan Sportsman, Praetorian, and Where the Warlocks Stay Up Late for this very short clip highlighting Park.
I was on the second floor and had the door open. I looked out. I see vans all in the parking lot. Treasury agents wearing jackets. They turn around and look up because I see my door open, and I'm like, whoa.
Before he taught murderers how to play Dungeons and Dragons in Rikers, Jason Snitker, aka Parmaster, was one of the most prolific hackers on the planet. trading exploits with groups across 4 continents, slipping into Citibank, and landing in underground. The book co-written by Julian Assange before vanishing from the Secret Service for over 2 years.
I definitely want to just dig into this super deep because you were at the nexus of some of the biggest hacking groups all over the world.
TS Computer Club in Germany, The Realm in Australia,
ALGM in the UK.
ALGM there, MOD and LOD. Knock at the door, I open the door thinking it's my Chinese hoodie there. You know, it's the special agent in charge of the New York field office for Secret Service. Threw me up against the wall and, you know, had the gun on my side.
You had to commit a crime just to get access, just to make...
To be able to connect to another computer in the world.
And so how do you think you guys changed the world?
It opened up access for everyone. Information wants to be free. So I did that.
Okay, we're going to start. My name is Deb Kavaler Wysopal. I want to thank you all for attending with Par's family here in Atlantic City. And I'm just going to say a few words. Okay. So on behalf of the family, we want to honor the life of Jason Snitker, Parmaster, who died suddenly and peacefully of natural causes. I've known Jason since the early 90s. For the last many years, we texted almost every day. Everyone on this Zoom knows Jason was one of the most elite old school hackers there ever was. And the joke is he was so old school, he was paranoid before being paranoid on the internet was a thing. And today is a celebration of him, a brilliant, slightly devious, kind teddy bear of a man who lived life gently, but very much on his own terms. Others will speak about his technical impact, how he helped shape an era, but this is what I know. He was the real deal through and through. He showed up. He was always available when you needed him. He shared his infinite knowledge. He made people feel good. He had access to everything, and you could trust him with anything. As we remember him today, I suspect many of the things we'll hear again and again is how genuinely kind he was when he had every reason to be anything but. So in that spirit, let today be a reminder that we need to continue to take care of each other. Send those texts, answer those texts, and check in. That too is a legacy worth keeping alive. Thank you, Par. May your memory be a blessing. And with this, I'd like to introduce Par's Aunt Carrie.
Thank you. Thank you, family and friends and hackers and anyone who ever wondered how we survived before the internet. Thank you for being here today to celebrate Jason. I'm Carrie Stillwell. You can call me Aunt Carrie, or if you're feeling nostalgic, the one who still can't believe those eyelashes went to him instead of me. Jason grew up in rural Northeast Iowa. It's called the Driftless area. For the uninitiated, it's the part of the state that looks like God took a paintbrush to Vermont, decided it was way too pretty, and hid it in Iowa so the rest of us wouldn't be able to find it. His mom, my sister, got the surprise package the spring of our high school graduation. Jason arrived the following January, looking like a baby supermodel with eyelashes that belonged in a mascara commercial. But I'll get over it. Due to life's plot twists, he was mostly raised by his grandparents, rule-following, church-going, everything in its place grandparents. Yet somehow, this kid ended up with roughly 87% of the family's IQ points. The rest of us are still waiting for our share to arrive in the mail. Jason clearly hacked the gene pool early. Despite Jason having a mom who was technically his grandmother and a sister who was technically his aunt, our family tree seeming more like a family pretzel. Anyway, despite it all, he had a surprisingly normal childhood. Good small town school, fresh air, and apparently unlimited access to the attic. Speaking of which, around junior high school age, the sheriff knocked on the door one day. Turns out Jason had quietly relocated the entire school computer lab to our attic. No one, not grandparents, not nosy neighbors, Not even the family dog noticed. That level of stealth is genius, and it makes a great plot for a heist movie starring a youth with a dial-up modem. We still don't know how he pulled it off, but we're pretty sure the attic had better ventilation than the school ever did. At 12, he reunited with his mom, and they headed to Pacific Grove, California. Pretty beaches, quirky geeks, a hip mom, and modems that probably still owe Jason child support. Back doors became his jungle gym. Trouble? Trouble didn't just find him. It booked a suite at the Pebble Beach Country Club and invited him over. One raid later, Jason made a cinematic exit through a back window, while my husband and I, who are serious golfers, still haven't managed to get a tee time there. We're hoping they don't run our names through the family criminal database before we finally get a chance to play Spyglass Hill. The grandparents were understandably horrified. Rule following doesn't prepare you for my grandson might be on the lam. But looking back, it all tracks. Life hands us all a dish. Connie, his mom, got poi. Jason, he got haggis. I got liver and onions, and I still gag at the memory. None of us would order those again, but Jason took his plate, added hot sauce, and managed to make the dinner table more interesting for everyone else. 9.5 years ago, the call came. Jason had a severe stroke and was in the ICU at Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I walked in and saw half his body paralyzed. He wasn't able to swallow, and he was fighting just to breathe. He slogged through acute rehab, long nursing home months, and because this is Jason, back to independent living. The man could literally will himself to do anything he set his mind to. That stroke tried to bench him, and Jason said, "Hold my keyboard." To every one of you here, thank you. You gave him love, purpose, community, and probably a few zero-day exploits we'll never hear about. He adored you. You lifted him when he needed it most. We will miss him terribly, but we'll also smile every time we think of the kid who outsmarted an entire school district from their computer lab, escaped a fancy hotel raid like a 90s action hero, and taught us all that brilliance, mischief, and heart can coexist in one remarkable person. Leaving you with this quote, author unknown. Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in an attractive and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in sideways, rum and coke in one hand, cigarette in the other, body thoroughly used up, totally worn out and screaming, "Woohoo! What a ride my life was." With love and a few lingering questions about network security, Aunt Carrie, my hubby, Uncle Marty, and our children, the cousins, Rachel, Dan, and Ryan. Thank you. Next, I'd like to read thank you. Next, I'd like to read a tribute written by Soulette Dreyfus, author of The Underground. She wrote these words for me to read. Parmaster had an eternally curious mind and sense of right and wrong. I don't mean the right and wrong of bossy compliance lists or holier than thou edicts pushed out by some churches. I mean a sense of the hardships people may face in life and the need to have some human empathy and generosity to people who experience those hard knocks. He himself experienced plenty of hardships. It surprised me that someone who had such a hard road through life could be upbeat and encouraging to others and could still make you laugh. He was part of a community of explorers in their earliest days of discovery, back when there were no solutions at the end of a search engine. The community bred self-reliance, creativity, and a fearlessness about experimenting, all qualities he very much possessed. This community and Parr himself were originals in every sense of the word. being both first and uniquely special. May you rest in peace, Par Soulette Dreyfus. Thank you.
We're going to turn it over to Mudge.
Thanks. When I got the call, can you hear me?
1 minute. Yep, there you go.
Great. When I got the call from you, it just, I mean, the world feels artificial without him. It's like saccharine. But I'll tell a couple stories, and one of which was hacking into there were two organizations that during the early days, Parmaster, Optics, folks like that, you had to break into these two places. Those were your kind of bona fides, if you will. One was NASA, because of course NASA. The other was BBN, because they built the internet. And this was before Paul Nash, Chris Wysopal, Brian Oblivion, and everyone came on. I was working there. I was fortunate enough. And I remember seeing Par on BBN. They owned 1/10 of the entire IP address space of the entire internet because they were silly. And a different story as to why they wasted all of that. And I remember kind of just thinking, it's like, oh, yeah. And it wasn't him getting his bona fides. He already had his bona fides. But it was a fun reminder. And at the same time I was at BBN, we were doing the loft. And there was an interesting job because the loft system became one of the bona fides for people to get into, to kind of like, everybody was hacking everybody within the underground, or whatever you want to call it, the independent security expert space, as I renamed it at DARPA, in order to fund a lot of really good things and to shut down a lot of taxpayer wasted money by some big organizations. I'll leave it at that. There was one person, I'm assuming it was one person, who was, what was the word they used in the video? Prolific. That doesn't even do justice. This person was dogged. This person would not let go. I rebuilt that damn kernel. I moved it over to an alpha chip set on a barely working alpha computer to be an entirely different CPU. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the smarts. I didn't have the abilities to keep up with this person. And even when I did, the person would just outpace me. And it was becoming a full-time job in and of itself. I could only think of one person. It might not have been Jason, but Jason was the only person who that matched, because if Jason wanted in somewhere, Jason got in somewhere. And what I did was I simply mailed him and chatted with him and said, here's the root password. Now, if anything happens to this system, I'm going to think it was you. And it was amazing because I really didn't have to spend much time protecting that system from that point on, because I probably had, one of the nicest guys, one of the best guys, one of the most dogged, relentless, smartest guys doing it for us, because he was our friend before we even, all of us at the loft, knew him in person. And just knowing that I can't pick up, dial up, pick up, call, whatever, and reach out to him, even if years had gone by, and getting an answer at the other end, just even with everything else in the world going on, it momentarily, just like everything else, just doesn't matter. This consumes all of that. I will miss him dearly. He was always nice to me. I would like to think, and I hope I was always nice to him. And I can't think of anybody I'd rather have known and been kind of in that same time period and group of people and that circle than Jason. Yeah, we all miss him. And the demarc zone is there. I'll get rid of the rest of the drive. Don't worry. Thank you.
Very good. Very nice.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. We're gonna toss it over to John Lee, Corrupt.
Hey, what's up, guys? I don't know how to use a phone. Hey, guys. I just wanted to say that was beautiful. Listen, Par was a bright person, super smart, overactive mind, perfect for hacking, curious about the world, and we used to have a lot of fun. And just historically, I guess we were always endeared to each other. I think first on probably bulletin boards and chat systems, which of course that's how a lot of us first interacted as we were geographically dispersed. I think the first time that I met him in person was at Grand Central Station, when he was like kind of on the run and nervous and perpetually, as someone mentioned, perpetually paranoid. He was paranoid before paranoid was, you know what I mean? It should be normal. Like, I think that, so it was really great to hack with him. I think, one of the things that made Par infamous was the Parmaster X75 NUI. I don't know if anyone else is going to mention it, but if I do, I think we kind of bonded over that moment as well, as an information exchange. It was always good to talk with him. He had always had interest in systems, both arcane, large and small, but he also was interested in systems of the world, which was also, as he got older, it was interesting that his same analytical mind he loved applying to, like, you know what I mean, to the global scope of things, and I thought, and synthesize ideas about how these things worked or how they were put together. But ultimately, I would just like to say that, even, what it was always a gift to, like, come up to DEF CON and, just spend some time talking with him and, you know what I mean? And just reminiscing. So I am very pleased that, I wish that he hadn't left us, but I will say that, for me personally and for the other people, including Deb and some of the other people, we're really grateful to spend time reminiscing with him yearly up at in person. I'm sorry, let me just walk down here to finish off. Just say that sorry, they just got crazy in there.
He's in a really elite house.
To finish off, yeah. Sorry, I'm on set. Would thing is the of us to get a chance to interact with him in person, because a lot of times we don't get that chance with the number of times of friends that we have geographically dispersed all over the place, everywhere from, Ukraine to Australia. We've spent years hacking Miami, wherever, hacking, staying in touch, talking, learning about each other's families. And so that regard, it's really nice to see each other every year. And in Paul's regard, it was really nice to spend time talking to him. You're lucky enough to have been to get to see him, break with him, and talk to him. And that is where I think I'm going to leave it. And I want to just thank you guys, and I'm sorry for your loss for the family, and sorry for the loss for our hacker community and all of us here. Thank you, guys.
I assume it's my time since my face is on the screen right now. I know you're muted, Deb, but I think it's my time. Well, I'm David Jacoby. I'm actually brought up in Sweden. So living in Sweden, I didn't know Jason during that old golden times of the BBSs, the bulletin board systems, and that. I was living my own life here, but reading the text files, being online, checking out the bulletin boards, that's a name that popped up from time to time. And we actually got connected through the project that Nathan Sportsman is running, the Warlocks Stay Up Late project, where Jason had to tell his story, and I told my story, and we just noticed how similar our stories were in many ways. And for me, this entire community that we have right here in this Zoom call and what Jason was actually representing is, for me, just more than just a community. Because this community of hackers and explorers and technical geeks and misfits is a community that actually allowed everyone to be part of this community, to share knowledge, no matter who you are, what you look like, what religion you have, or anything. It was about knowledge. It was about finding peace within exploring technology. And for me, this has actually saved a lot of lives. Even that we're gathered here today for someone who lost their life, I think that individual saved a lot of lives as well. Because this community, it is the light of people who might struggle in many other ways, including myself. I had a very difficult time finding, I shouldn't say friends, but peace in life. I didn't feel associated with the world besides the world of the underground hacking community, basically. So it is a little bit moving to celebrate community when we're actually missing one of the biggest voices out there, someone who actually created this, who was part of the foundation of which is this community, but also moved on to an entire industry, to people who are being able to pay their bills and put food on the table for hacking stuff. At that time when Jason was active, it didn't put food on his table. But now we should be extremely grateful that the things that we can learn from individuals such as Jason and such as many of the other people in this chat. I just see the names out there, and that's just so extremely fantastic. And also that the stories that should be told cannot be told anymore, because we're losing all these evangelists out there, the people who actually created this, where this is so important that we actually can tell this story. And, after we filmed Where Warlocks Stay Up Late, that's actually how we got in contact. And when we started to share these stories between each other about exploration systems, talking about the differences between the US network and the European or Scandinavian networks, I saw an individual with an extremely big heart who was, as all the other people have also said, is willing to share, not just take. And I'm just very happy to be here because I think the story that Jason represents is the beginning of my life, and that I can just sit here today is thanks to the community that he was part of and created. And I just see so many good people here. We think the hackers is criminals. We criminalize curiosity and all that, and I think that's wrong. And I'm very happy that some people actually took the blame and took all the crap. I'm probably one generation younger than many of you guys here, but without you guys, I would not sit here. So I'm just very thankful to be part of this community, and rest in peace, Parmaster. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, this is going to be good. Am I muted?
Oh, you're on.
Okay, good. The next up is Secret Service Agent Tom Sloan.
Oh boy, here we go. Well, first of all, I just want to let you all know that the statute of limitations has expired, so you're all good to go. So the first time I met Jason Parmaster, I handcuffed him. The last time I saw him was August of 24, and I embraced him. We hugged because for some reason in 2023, I decided to reach out for him. One reason is because I'm a writer now. I've written novels and all my money goes to charity, so I'm not bashful about talking about that. But Bravta's Rose tattoo is about a Russian super hacker. It's actually Jason. And so if you, the book is actually sold out, but you can still get it on Kindle. And I got a kick out of telling him when I met him that he was the main character.
Oh my.
So back in November 1991, I had transferred from DC headquarters to, and I took over what then was called the West African Task Force, which was Nigerian credit card fraud. But I had these two guys that blossomed into five during this time period, but two guys that investigated what was then known as telecom fraud, beeper fraud. But then this emerging thing was happening, and this name Parmaster kept populating up, and my guys in the squad, even though it was a credit card squad, like, yeah, we got to go to Midtown Manhattan and look at this 2600 club, just surveil it. Eventually, my guys developed enough probable cause to get a Title 1, 2, and 3. And what that meant was if we got it, we could not just monitor their phones and their beepers, but we could, for the first time, we could actually monitor the real-time keystrokes. And we did it with the FBI. And this case didn't involve Parmaster at the time, but Parmaster was known to be active in other Secret Service and federal agency cases. So we partnered up with the FBI on this other smaller group, and they were really wasn't into criminality. It was more mischief than anything else, but it was a learning lesson for all of us. But the FBI came aboard, and their technicians couldn't do the keystroke stuff, and our technical security guys came up. In magic, we were monitoring real-time keystrokes. So the investigation is moving along. And when the FBI would show up, they would show up with their clerks rather than their agents. And I would reprimand their supervisor, like, guys, the court order specifies special agents, not clerks. Oh, I'm sorry. So myself and another agent from my squad, Jim Matola, we were out in a car in Brooklyn. And we got this notification from the field office from Tony Migliaccio. Sloan Migliaccio, go ahead. Hey, we just got word from so-and-so that Parmaster's in the apartment I'm going to call him Rosen. I'm not going to give a full name. Rosen's apartment in Brooklyn. Wow, Tony, we're 5 minutes out. Give us 5 minutes to get there and make a call to Rosen and tell him we'll be there in 30 minutes, just like basic cops and robbers. So we get there 5 minutes, and we're outside the apartment door. We hear the phone ring, and we hear, oh, shit. About 30 seconds later, the door opens up. Hello, Parmaster. You're under arrest. We had 2 warrants for him out of California. So it wasn't federal warrants, but it was a Secret Service case out of California, and that's how Parmaster was on our radar. So we went in, and quite frankly, I'm not sure whether I put a gun in his back or Matola put a gun in his back, but we arrested them. We brought him in to the field office, and we were bent on turning him over to the NYPD because we had a detective on our task force, and they were state warrants. So when I got back to the field office, the Justice Department attorney, and tell me when I'm telling too much stories here because I could talk about this all day long. So the Justice Department attorney working for this guy, Jim Comey, you might know him. But anyway, Southern District of New York, he starts reprimanding me. And he goes, by what authority did you have to arrest Parmaster? I said, are you kidding me? Didn't you watch the FBI during the 1960s? Every time you guys make an arrest, it's interstate flight to avoid prosecution. And I said, fuck you. So we turned Jason over to NYPD, and originally he was in what's called the Tombs, and his reputation there overnight was he wasn't happy. He was kicking that the cell door, trying to get out. He didn't do any harm, but eventually he went to Rikers for 2 or 3 weeks, and then eventually we went back to California where he actually beat the case. Our Title 1, 2, and 3 successfully concluded, and we learned a lot of lessons there about the hacking community. And when I was there in 91, 92, before I went on back to protection, you could see the evolution where some of these hackers were getting involved in more and more criminality versus just screwing around like our title, where they were diverting pornographic telephone calls to a church. And they were just doing that because they could. So that was my last time I ever heard of Parmaster until I retired from the Secret Service in 2001. I ended up a SAC of major events. I ended up a SAC of Baltimore field office. So I had a balance of criminal investigations. And my background was financial crimes, credit card fraud, bank fraud, counterfeiting. But I still monitored the evolution of the hacking community. And the Secret Service obviously got more and more involved in it. But this guy Parmaster always intrigued me. So when I retired, the Secret Service had a case involving 3 super hackers around the world. And I hesitate mentioning the name Gonzalez, but they gave me an opportunity to talk to this kid, Gonzalez, who is now an informant. I said, you ever hear of Parmaster? This is in 2002, 11 years after we arrested him. He goes, yeah, Jason Snitker. I go, oh my God, this kid was 22 and he knew Jason. So again, I've always had it in my hip pocket that I'd love to meet Jason one day. And then when I retired, I went to work for First Data, Western Union, money transfer business and credit card fraud. And my next book is 922, and we can explain that to you guys later, because 11 days after 9/11, the bad guys had Plan B already in motion, but it was prevented. So anyway, 2023, I track Jason down. I meet him outside Atlantic City in Vintner. It was just going to be for a cup of coffee. We spent 3 hours together. And one of his questions was, because he hung around with this guy that he got arrested with, Rosen, I'm not going to give you his full name. He goes, I always felt he gave me up. I said, Jason, it wasn't him. And I can't tell you who gave you up, but it wasn't him. And he felt relieved about that. So, because they were buddies. So we spent 3 hours. And next year, August, I go to Long Beach Island, New Jersey every summer. I looked him up again and we met. At this time, he moved into an apartment. I guess he left his condo. He moved into an apartment. And we met for another couple hours and we just talked. And then last August, we didn't meet because I think he was in Las Vegas. and so I didn't have the opportunity to talk to him. But we texted a lot, as recently as last November, about things, Ukraine and things. And we became friends. And I always thought that would be a neat story to tell, how 32 years later, the guy that put handcuffs on him ended up hugging him. So Bravta's rose tattoo is about him. I tried to celebrate him, and that's probably why I looked him up. We learned a lot of lessons looking for him. I know I've watched his video, and he says he had a bad Tom in the Secret Service on the West Coast, and he had a good Tom on the East Coast. And hopefully that was me. So I just wanted my condolences to the family, my condolences to all you folks who you actually educated the Secret Service, and ironically, the New York Crimes Task Force, Electronic Crimes Task Force, that we developed during that time period, became the model for the Patriot Act that was then expanded throughout the country. And 922, the book I'm working on now, benefits from what's called fusion centers, where you bring in all the players, help to prevent something that would have taken out 20, 30,000 people by Al-Qaeda, but it was prevented because of our lessons learned. So thank you, Jason, for what you taught us.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks, Tom. That's amazing. I'm going to throw it back to Mudge.
Tom, I just wanted to make a quick comment. First, thank you very much for coming and talking at this. And I'm pretty sure you were one of the better experiences he had. And I also wanted other folks to know, because they probably don't, our community really doesn't. Now, when I say our community, I am part of this community. Yes, I have worked government senior levels. Find what's wrong, go in there and fix it, as I've always said. That the Secret Service and FBI split computer crime in the US 50-50, and that's law. And for people who, I ran and set up security at Stripe. Stripe is a large financial processor company, agency company. So obviously we worked with FinCEN a lot. Anytime I had actionable, important, critical national information, I went to the Secret Service. I never went to the FBI. Why? Because the Secret Service had people that would work with you, that would help, that would engage, that would communicate back. And it sounds like that's what you and Jason ended up having. So I am so happy that he ended up, even with a gun in his back, interacting with the Secret Service rather than the FBI, who looked down at everybody going, you're useless. You should join the FBI and be an agent. What are you doing, dealing with money or sitting behind a computer? So, Tom, thank you for helping, for being part of the counterbalance to what I see as a broken other side that hasn't found its way, and being brave enough and generous enough with your time to come here and honor Jason. Thank you, sir.
Alan Wilson, behave. Okay, I'm going to do something that I probably shouldn't do, but I want to open this up to see if anybody else wants to say something.
Hey, Deb, I want to share a fun story.
Who is that?
The stoner.
Okay, Paul.
So it's good we have Tom here, and I'd love to hear if he heard of this or not. So, for background, I met Jason in Lower Manhattan in the 90s. I think that we went to a bar after a 2600 meeting, but I was too young to go in the bar, but I could still stay outside and smoke cigarettes. And when I met Jason, I'll be honest, he was a bit of a dick, right? And I didn't know why, but people explained to me, like, no, that's like OG hacker kind of thing, and he was paranoid, right? So strangers, especially some young kid, couldn't figure out what had happened there. And then I drifted apart. I did my government thing. And so I connected with Jason, probably 5 years ago. And I was like really shocked at how things had changed. And so we struck up a bit of a friendship, and we compared notes and a lot of other things like everybody else. Story I want to share, though, is a pretty funny one. So, Jason grew up small town Iowa, right? And when he was on the lam, there was another woman in town that had married a Snitker, and she had a son, and his son was named Jason. So Jason, the son, took the Snitker name when this woman married the Snitker family, and he became Jason Snitker.
Wow.
And so when he was under investigation, the police or whoever's looking into him go to this podunk little town, and they're shaking down this kid named Jason Snitker, except it's not the one that we know. So I don't know if that was true or not, but that was the story told by Jason himself. And, I thought it was a really funny kind of thing that overlay into all the other chaos that he went through as an investigator. So, Deb, thank you so much for organizing. Thank you all for sharing your comments. I think this is so well deserved for the guy. And I've told a lot of people he was the elite of the elite. Like there's not, hands down, I find somebody else that's got more of the gifts and goods and tools and targets than he had. And I'll eat my lunch. So I'll hand over the mic to Harrigan and others, but thanks so much for, again, letting me talk.
Okay, anyone else?
A little bit. So I was lucky enough to work with Jason back in 2004 at this podunk little startup called Digital Defense. And we had our anarchic, early 20s hacker crew there that ran the pen test team. And out of nowhere, Jason applied to be a pen tester. And we knew where he was, right? Like we're, somewhat terrified to hire this man. He was our god to come work with us. And once he started actually joining the team and hanging out, he was just the nicest guy in the world. We'd hang out all day, whatnot. Our daily routine was to go walk across the street, get cigarettes. He'd always get one of those little cherry pies from the convenience store. He'd go back to the office, put on his tinfoil hat, and take a nap in the afternoon. But the comments, just lovely man, awesome. I learned about bidets from Jason Snitker. He bought this fancy apartment down in San Antonio. We thought it was the dumbest idea ever. And he probably made a ton of money on it later on. But he would go off for 3 hours about the amazingness of a bidet. And this was before bidets were cool, right? So it was just the funniest thing ever. But yeah, one story about just how stubborn he is we're doing a pen test for some small bank, and the admin there was a jerk. He was actually trying to kick us out while we're breaking into stuff. So we'd pop a box, and the guy would reset the password again and again and again. You're not supposed to do that, right? Let us do our job in GTFO. Go home. So Jason got mad. Jason's no, I'm just gonna keep going till this guy falls asleep, and he did. We left at 6 p.m., came back in there at 7 a.m. He was still typing away. See him and admin still going at it for 24 hours straight, basically. And we owned everything, but it's just such a funny experience, and to see how dogged he was on, no, I'm going to keep my shells and kick this guy out. And it's the funniest thing ever. So thank you again for all the great words. And, I'm going to miss him. It was enjoyable working with him.
Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing.
Hey, everybody.
Oh.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Who is it?
It's Matt.
Oh, hey, Matt.
How are you? I have a couple of stories that sort of tie into each other that I think are deeply, deeply funny and emblematic of Jason. They're both a long time ago. So I started a company called MCR in the, I guess, early mid 90s. And we were launching one of the first sort of MSSP type businesses that were out there. And I was searching for a CEO to bring into this company to run it so I could focus on the technology aspect. And we brought in this guy, Art, who was the former chief operating officer for, I can't remember if it was TimeNet or Telenet. And all of this was happening right before my 25th birthday. And I had found out that Par was going to actually show up to my 25th birthday party, so I was super psyched to meet him. And I'm just sort of swapping stories with Art about the hacker scene and some of the people that we were bringing on and whatnot. And I go, yeah, there's this guy Parmaster who kind of ran rampant throughout most of the pad switched in networks that were out there. And he goes, "You know that guy?" And it was like instant legendary status with one of these guys who had actually brought one of those huge companies up from non-existence, right? Like they were building these private networks. And I go, "Yeah, you want to meet him? Come to my birthday party. It's Saturday. He's going to show up." And so I was able to, similar to how Par got to meet his Secret Service agent, he also got to meet one of the chief executives of one of the companies that he was routinely breaking into. And those guys talked for hours on end. And then, at that party, it was a James Bond themed birthday party. So there were a lot of, martinis floating around. And, he was one of the first people to show up, and with kind of a group of folks. And, we were both very young and inexperienced drinkers. And so I hand him a martini and he just slugs it. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess that's what we're doing." And so we had what I would call a fun night. And it went fast. And then, we're both standing in the kitchen. And he looks out the window, and I remember this distinctly. Like, he kind of had this, everybody goes, "Yeah, Par's really into like satellite technology and also highly skeptical of the government for obvious reasons." And he looks out the window at the neighbor's DSS dish and he points at it and he goes, "They're listening." And I just thought that and he did it with such a deadpan face that I wasn't sure whether he was serious or not, but that became like his running joke that he would do about just sort of anything related to satellite. We would stop and he'd go, "They're listening." And just such a fun guy to hang out with and learn from. He was into all the stuff that I had never really had a chance to get into, and to swap stories, and just a really good friend. And I'm sad he's gone, and I will miss him dearly. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Yeah, it's great to see everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Katie.
Hey there. So I remember Par as being somebody who always treated me like a fellow hacker, and that was pretty rare at the time. He didn't ask me whose girlfriend I was, who I came with. He asked me what I was working on, and at the time it was, creeps or people who would ignore me, and he was neither. So I wish I could say that, Par's style of regarding fellow human beings as exactly that is now commonplace. It's not as commonplace as it should be, but back then it was absolutely rare. So I will always miss him as a friend, as a fellow hacker, and that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
So I'm David Maynor. I grew up, like, I was 12 or 13 during the whole mod thing. And when the Masters of Deception book came out, like, I can't tell you how many times I read it. And like, the thing that stuck out and still does from that book is Parmaster going to a 2600 meeting while on the run and being concerned about killer satellites. Right? Like, I would recommend the book to people, and they would be like, "You almost had me. I thought this was a real book right up until that point." But I had never actually met him. And I was working in a vendor maybe like 2010 or so. And I got an email from Jason with his real name. And, he was just somebody that was referred to me by a mutual friend. And he asked for some help with a problem, and I helped him. And he was like, "Hey, why don't we meet up in Vegas for DEF CON?" And I was like, "Sure." And I met him, and like right away, he starts, like, I told him that one of my regrets was like I was too young to do like any cool X-25 stuff or whatnot like that. Like it was, like it was like legends by the time I like had any knowledge of anything. So he went into this whole like he told me like for 3 hour stories about like X-25 StatCom, like stuff that was just like fascinating. And I had planned on meeting him for like a drink, maybe half an hour, and like 3 hours later, I was like, "Hey man, have you ever heard of the MOD?" And he goes, "For I think I've heard of it." He goes, "There's a guy, there's a book about him called Masters of Deception, but there's a guy in the book named Parmaster, and you just are giving me the heaviest Parmaster vibes like ever." Like, and I like this wasn't ironic. Like, it was just like he was. He just knew so much about like different things. Like he went from eight layer groove machine to X-25 to a story about somebody in the Philippines, back to satellites. Like, and it was like I said, just enthralling. And I was like, yeah, you like. There's a guy. He was on the run from. I can't remember. I was like, I can't remember what, but he showed up at 2600 in New York, and his name was Parmaster, and he had access to like TimeNet, and that was like a really big deal. And he goes, "Are you fucking with me?" And I'm like, "Not that I know of." He goes, "I'm Parmaster." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever," because this guy just like freely like sat and talked to me for hours about all kinds of different things, and we barely knew each other, and it always struck me as um, like I don't know too many people who acted like that. And after someone else actually did verify he was indeed Parmaster, um, I was like, what's it like to be that guy where like everybody, everything, you've popped everything that can be popped, and you got time to talk to a rando at DEF CON. I always thought it was so cool.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So I'm going to read a story on behalf of MB, Mo, so I'm going to say. And he says, I first met Parr in IRC when I was 15. His legend preceded him, of course, so I knew who he was. We chatted here and there about X25. At the time, in addition to exploring X25 networks, I was hacking AT&T System 75 PBXs, and I encountered one that I wasn't able to access. He told me there was a backdoor password on all System 75s for the user Maint, and the password was MaintX75. This seemed like a far-fetched supply chain type of attack to me at the time, and especially because it was suspiciously reminiscent of his Timnet backdoor Parmaster X75. He insisted it was true, and he had heard it from an AT&T tech. So I humored him and logged off to try it, dial-up days, and of course it didn't work. He actually seemed surprised it didn't work, and I figured at this point this guy is just fucking with me. So I later realized he wasn't, that he really believed it, but at the time I felt a little annoyed, and I told him so. We got into it a little, and over time we got into it more until I was owning him all the time, and he swore to visit physical violence on me. A situation that was not totally uncommon for me, but I do believe Parr would have been a handful to tangle with back in the day. He was a big, strong dude back then. In 1999, I moved to California, and I was talking to a mutual friend who informed me that Parr worked literally walking distance from where I worked. They said we should bury the hatchet, and I said, fuck it, sure, and he and I met up for Thai food. And it turned out in person, he was like the nicest guy of all time. Dude did not have a mean bone in his body. He was a blast to hang out with in person. We hung out a few times. He really lived life to the fullest. I don't know if I should get into our online battle stories because, like, we laughed about it later, and that's not how I primarily remember him. I'd actually forgotten all about it until I spoke with someone who reminded me after he passed. And then he sent a whole bunch of stuff that I'm sure he doesn't want me to read. And then he says, I really liked and respected the guy. I want to turn his. Wait, what does he say? Okay. Okay, wait. I guess the highest compliment I can pay him is one of the very few hackers who changed the face of the entire scene. It would not have been the same without him, and there aren't many people you can say that about. Sorry for the wall of text, but that's my brain and heart dump on par. Thank you, Andy.
You guys hear
Anyone
me?
else?
My name is Corey Haas. I'm the Iowa connection to Jason. So Carrie was my next door neighbor. I appreciate her sending the invite to this. So one, the story about the school is true. He got the keys he was friends with Mr. Wooden up the street, Carrie. He was a janitor. He was friends with his son. That's where they got the keys to get into the high school lab.
Oh,
The second thing was, and I decided not to go on that hijink night with them, but anytime Jason would come back to Iowa, I was his connection, whether we were 14 and 15 and we got busted for curfew, or once we were old enough, we were driving Carrie's old car because it was still there, the old Mustang, and we would go out looking for girls. So there's always that fun things with Jason in Iowa that didn't evolve around computers. We didn't have things like that where we are growing up. The other one was Jason Snitker. Yes, that is true. He was a classmate of mine, and it was interesting because I was the one who told Jason that story, and it kind of blew his mind. So I just want to say it's amazing seeing everybody. I've heard so many of your names from Jason, and when we sit around, we get a bottle of vodka, we tell the stories, and just always be impressed. So just nice to meet everybody. But yes, there was an Iowa connection. Anytime he may have been on the run or may have just needed some time, I was the one that hung out with him.
Thanks, Corey. Good to see you.
You guys want someone?
You guys hear me?
Yeah. Hey.
Great. This is Nico. I just putting together some quick notes from the call and I remember Par from X25 on Lucifer and QSD back in the day and meeting him in San Francisco. But based on what people have said here, I put together these notes and kind of this tribute to him. I'm calling it Winning at Life, a roadmap for us. You went over the computer, you went over the network, you went over the hacker community, you went over the law enforcement, and you still went over the hacker community. You won at life. And with that, he's hacking us beyond life. And that's it.
It was all so nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Nico. All right, we're going to try to get it off you now, Nico, in 1 second. It's not awkward at all. There you go. Hi. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so if not, we're going to, I guess, encourage everyone to have a toast.
That'd be great. He would like a happy ending.
And
get the sake.
Sure. And we're going to end again with Peggy's slideshow, which is pretty amazing.
It's awesome. Thank you all so much.
And the
really,
you guys want to be
so appreciate it.
Here's like the whole family's, like a whole bunch of the families here. Say hi, everyone. And that's
my beloved.
Am I anywhere? I'm blind. Am I anywhere near you guys? Like I could be up my shirt for all I know.
The computer's autofocusing too.
Okay, we're gonna have a.
Yeah.
You guys are the best, truly. All right, let's run the slideshow one more time. I encourage you guys to watch it to the end. Thank you all for coming out. Okay. She's not.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Love you, Jason. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, that's put that mug. Oh. I love that best. Oh. That's what I'm gonna get for you. Yeah. It's a baby part. Barely beetle part. Such a wheat accuracy thing. What a great photo. So I have so many great things. So look at it.